Perhaps you've heard of the name Truett Cathy. Truett Cathy was a man at the time of his passing in 2014 was worth well over $5 billion. He was a famous fast food restaurateur, but he was known for so much more than that. He was known for starting many businesses. He was known for starting many organizations, many not-for-profits all around the world, and even funded missions organizations and funded missional businesses around the world. But he wasn't always that way. Way back in 1967, Truett Cathy had a dream of starting a chicken restaurant, a fast food chicken restaurant where you could come in and dine. And he had a vision that this might explode and be an alternative to those burger joints that were out on the street. And he was right. But you know what? He was also a Baptist Sunday school teacher. He was a man of great religious faith. He had faith in Christ that there was a purpose to what he was doing. And so every decision he made was run by Jesus to make sure he was doing it in accordance with his faith. One of his first decisions was to make sure he was not open on Sunday so his employees could go to church if they so choose. You know, Truett was a laughingstock at that point. Restaurateurs were looking at him saying, that's ridiculous. That's one of the highest incomes days of all the week for us fast food restaurants. And he said, you know what? I can't do it. I'll just have to trust God on this one. And you know, from day one, he decided that's what he was going to do. I remember one of my best friends in high school said, I want to work on Sunday, but you know what? This company doesn't do it, so I can't do it. And he ended up going to church as well. So as time went by, Truett Cathy became one of the most famous fast food chicken restaurants of all time, Chick-fil-A. At the end of his life, he was interviewed by a famous magazine, and he was asked, Truett, did you know that God was going to do all this in your life, not just Chick-fil-A, but all the many things that you do? And he said, I obviously had no clue all that God had planned for me. And he was asked, well, how did you get it all done? How did you manage to balance family and faith and all of this? And he said, I took one step at a time, listened to Jesus, and followed his lead. Our verse for today is found in Philippians chapter 3, where Paul, who's very similar to this, says in chapter 3, verse 10, I want to know Christ and the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of sharing in his sufferings. Then he says, I make it every effort to take hold of that for which Jesus has taken hold of me. I want to know Christ and the power of his resurrection. You know, Paul was a little bit like Truett Cathy in that he was taking that fast track and he made sacrifices for his faith in Jesus. He made sacrifices not to go this way because Jesus said to go that way. He tried to get into Asia. Jesus said, no, we're going to go into Macedonia. And the church through Europe was formed because of those decisions. Paul had sacrificed and said, I consider, like yesterday's devotion, all things to be not valuable compared to knowing and listening and following Jesus. And because of that, there's a power that comes to us to give us the ability to do and follow him and make those decisions. Many times we use that verse, I want to know the power of the resurrection, and it's living in me, I can do all things. But it's not just a power that's at my disposal. The power of the resurrection comes from pressing into Christ and then being able to work out those things that he's called us to do. It's this verse right here that's the precursor for Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not I can do all things I want to do. I can do the things he's called me to do. I can do the things he's purposed for me to do. And as Paul says later in another letter, he says, and those things we can't even imagine. Like Truett said, I couldn't even imagine all that God had planned for me. I just kept walking step by step in faith, and he empowered me to do those things. Paul says the same thing. Paul went on to plant hundreds of churches. Paul went on to write most of our New Testament in the Bible. He never dreamed that he'd be able to do that. He never dreamt that that would be God's call for his life, but he just kept pressing in, considering other things not as valuable as knowing Christ, listening to him, and being empowered to do the things he's called us to do. How big do you dream? What are your dreams? What are your desires, like we talked about yesterday? They might be, like we said, career or position or title or family or even a marriage. But if you might consider for 1 minute that God dreams way bigger than that for you, those are necessary, those are essentials, those are the desires of our heart, family and children maybe and spouse. But God's got way bigger things planned for you. But he doesn't just drop them in your lap. He didn't just drop Chick-fil-A in Truett Cathy's lap. He didn't just drop all these church plants in Paul's lap. He said, I need you to press in so you can know Christ, know the mind of Christ, the imagination, the creativity of Christ, of all that he's got planned for you. Dream bigger. Dream bigger. Don't make it up. He'll give it to you. He wants to speak those things into your life. And I'm just telling you, I would have never dreamt that God would have me here today when I first started following Christ nearly 40 years ago. I would have never dreamt that I got to do the things I've got to do for Jesus. But the secret sauce is pressing in. All the things that I want to do and the desires, I consider them less. I press in and I listen and I follow. And then he empowers me to get it done. Just like Truett says, to balance faith, family, and our desires and our hopes and dreams he's put on our heart takes the power of the resurrection. And it's miraculous, truly miraculous. Today I'm just going to ask you, have you been pressing into Jesus? Have you been asking him, Lord, I want to put these things in my heart down in value, put them aside for a minute. I want to dream the dreams that you have for my life, Jesus. And I don't want to be scared by them. I don't want to say, oh, don't send me on the mission field or don't call me into, full-time ministry. That everything's ministry, everything's spiritual. He's calling us. But don't limit what he has for you. Press in and ask him. Press in today and ask him, Jesus, if you could have full reign of my life, what would you do with me? What are your dreams for me? Don't let me be afraid. Don't let me make excuses. Don't let me say tomorrow or when I'm ready, Lord. Let me just pursue it. And then I'll trust that you'll empower me with the power of the resurrection to say, like Paul says, I can do all those things through Christ who gives me strength. I'm praying for you guys. I challenge you, chase his dreams for you. They may include your dreams. They will blow your mind, but he's got the power and the strength you need to get it all done in his timing. Love you, Life Coach. Talk to you soon.